Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Let's get ready to suck it!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the #1 Wrestling Times Rugby League podcast in the world. We are #1, we are the champs. I am Roasty. Opposite me is Courtesy. Courtesy? Hey, that's not bad, Courtesy.
I was going to call you the mess or DM. Slide into my DMs. That'll be a nice tag.
It is. How are you, man?
Yeah, good, dude. Like, it's been a couple of weeks, but pumped to be back. And obviously, I know you're pumped to be back too. So, like I was saying off air, no one is holding us to Eastern and Pacific time. Specific times. But, good to talk some shit with you, mate, tonight and have a few drinks and talk some wrestling and some footy. And hopefully the fans out there that are already listening will enjoy tonight's episode. Whenever it comes out.
100%. Fair bit to talk about, actually. Lot happening in both rugby league and the wrestling worlds. But, like you said, we have gone a little bit off format every now and then. We haven't stuck to the 2 weeks like we
it's
have
tough,
wanted
mate.
to.
We've both got schedules. We've got stuff to do.
But we are going to be working on it, folks, for everyone listening. Coming in the off-season, we'll get into a format. We'll get into a rhythm. We'll get into every 2 weeks and try and stick to it just to get it out because, hey, we were talking about, we love the interaction that we're getting from fans, especially on Twitter. Like we were saying, we put out or Curtis put out a tweet, which was, we're going to record tonight. We had, some positive responses, people missing the show, people wanting to hear it. We have just some random people tagging us, like when they see something in a rugby league game and they're tagging us. So that's pretty special. So we want to reward you guys and open it up to you as well. So if you ever have anything that you want to contribute, we have people send in saying, here's a question for the pod, here's this, here's that. So keep it up. Interact with it because we absolutely do love it. We might not respond to you, but we do see it. So we've got to all get better at that, and we will. But stick with us because we, like we said, we absolutely love it, and we do see it. So,
and if you don't, we'll bury you.
Yeah, well, just like Triple H and almost every single talent in the WWE in the past. No, we will look after you. We will boost you up. We want you to become the champions. We're just going to sit back. We're just going to sit back and watch you guys become the champions of the wrestling Twitterverse, wrestling rugby league Twitterverse, which, like we said, we are the champs at the moment, so we can promote whoever the fuck we want.
That's it.
But, mate, been 3 weeks, been a lot happening in the rugby league world. I don't know where you want to start. You want to start, like, what's some of the highlights over the last couple of weeks that you've seen?
Oh, look, the quality of the game is fantastic. Just in general, the quality is so much better than what we saw through COVID, and I almost called him Paul Heyman then, but Peter V'landys, his 6 again game was just that was just shit.
Yeah.
And we're back to some grueling arm wrestling football, which is amazing, and so many teams can win the competition. I know the Penrith Panthers deserve to win their minor premiership because they're so far ahead. I think they're 8 points ahead at the moment. They're going to miss Cleary and Luai into the finals for an extended period. That means some teams going to come up, maybe beat the Panthers some games that maybe they were scheduled that, if you were picking out your NRL predictor at the start of the year, maybe they wouldn't have won. That causes some chaos at the bottom end of the ladder and who finishes top 4, which is very important. I know you want to talk about the Townsville screw job, so let's get that out of the way.
Let's get into it because that was massive.
Your thoughts first, please, mate. As a neutral, what do you think?
I thought it was a disgraceful end to the game. Even if you were watching it from a non-rugby league perspective, you were probably looking at the referee going, this guy has no clue what he's doing because he was sort of wandering around, not, I can't hear, don't talk to me, had no control over the game. So that was a bad look. Just the ending as a whole, like, no one understood this short whistle thing. I know it's probably been around, but the average fan doesn't know it. The the decision of, any person that, like, I was following along in the comments and people on Twitter, and a majority of fans were like, that is not an escort, so the penalty, it shouldn't have been awarded. The fact that, who was it? Klein, who I thought had a really good run during State of Origin. I thought he was pretty decent there. And then he goes and does something like that, and it's like, holy shit, man, that's just terrible. So just as an overall look, I did not like it. It's just bad. It's just not a good look for the game, really.
Well, look, you mentioned actually Klein. I think he was the video ref that night that actually screwed it all up, because the on-field referee was happy to call full-time. And when you say he got confused, that was the voices in his head to take a Randy Orton theme song quote. But look, most Sundays, the family and the four brothers get to mum's house for a barbecue and drinks, and kind of get a bit too loose for mum's liking, and we all get kicked out at about 10 o'clock. But I had $900 on riding on West Tigers winning head-to-head.
Oh, wow.
And just before that kick restart, there was something inside me that said, I'm going to walk out of the room. I left the house and sat on the driveway and actually listened to the chaos unfolding over the next 3 or 4 minutes. And I had my legs crossed. I had my scotch in between my legs, and I thought, I've lost that bet. I could hear it, and everyone blowing up inside. It was awful. It really was. It was just a shit call. And it makes it worse because the following week, last week, West Tigers go up to Suncorp, back to Queensland, and they put a number on Brisbane. So, I don't think West will get the spoon now because the Titans are going so bad. But, I mean, we could be 4 points higher than the 2 points. Look, in those positions, I didn't think a video referee could tip to an on-field ref and say, take a look at it, because there was no penalty. So how could the Cowboys challenge? It's a confusing one.
Yeah, it was like, I didn't even hear a full-time whistle. Like, and, what was the decision? What were they challenging in the end? And it was like, there was no... Yeah.
I think that the video ref said, check for an escort or look for the escort. But the on-field referee was like, I'm blowing full time. How can I check for an escort without blowing up to you? Someone needs to challenge. And then it was long past 10 seconds for the challenge period. If there wasn't a penalty given, how can you challenge a non-penalty? It's very confusing. Look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. West Tigers, that they did their bit. I'm proud of them. They've worked really hard the last couple of weeks. I think they're doing really, really good under Kamali or Tim Sheens or whoever is actually really running the team, because they're not playing so structured as they were under Michael Maguire. Yes, there's more errors in their game, but you need to take a chance in a game. If you don't take a chance, there's no chance of knocking the ball on or making a mistake. But you need to have a dig. And I think that's what West Tigers are doing. I won't be there on Sunday around the corner from my house at Campbelltown to watch the Knights. I'll be up at Coffs Harbour. But I think West Tigers will flog the Knights on Sunday, and I hope they do. So, anyway, the Townsville screw job, 100%. It was ridiculous.
Who screwed who? Brett screwed Brett.
Man.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, the fact that they're still talking about it.
The NRL's Vince.
Yep.
The Cowboys are Michaels. And West Tigers are the lonely Bret Hart. But, look, not much else to say about it. It's been covered at nauseum by everyone else, but 100%, like it was pretty dirty when you see stuff like that. And it's just NRL officiating going over the top. It's bureaucracy. Just let the referee make a call. At the end of the day, let the ref make a call and let him on the field as a human being, right or wrong, make the call. And you know what? The Cowboys fans might have been dirty on Twitter for about half an hour and said, oh, no, we got dusted because there was an escort, but they would have been over it by now.
That's the thing. I think if they've just called full-time there and they wanted to look at that and slow it down and see, which he's deviated, get a protractor out and he's deviated, 35% or whatever, but half an hour after the game, they'd be like, move on.
That's football, mate.
Probably, it would have been unfortunate that it was the Sunday... It was the last game of the round, right? So it would have given them longer time to talk about it. If this happens like on a Saturday at 5:30, you've got a game straight after, so you might whinge about it for half an hour, but you've got another game to start talking about. So a lot of people move away real quick. The worst thing was it was a Sunday 4 p.m. game, so it finished 6 p.m. You've got all night to talk about it. It's the first thing you're talking about on Monday. That's what makes it worse.
And the Cowboys are a top 4 team. If they lost to the West Tigers and the ref called full time, that's fair and square. They would have gotten over it and moved on. And that's the way the Cowboys are. They're good. They're good people from salt of the earth part of Australia. They're having a great season. I think they would have moved on pretty quickly. But the fact that a team that's on their death legs and really struggling to keep their head above water gets screwed like that, just let the ref make the call. But,
yep. But I agree with you. They are playing some last, like that game and the game against the Broncos have been really impressed with them. They're going to miss Jacko Hastings, unfortunately, out with that broken leg, which is really unfortunate for him with the World Cup coming up as well. I would have loved to see him running out for England. But
would you?
Yeah. Well, he's not going to.
I'm dirty on Radley playing for England. I know it's like they're eligible, but and that's a Pandora's box we don't want to open.
No, that's another one. I don't know. I'm on the side of I just want to see some competitive football, and when you've got the comp just in Australia that produces all this talent here, and you want to steal all the talent, or not steal, but you want all the talent to play for Australia, you're just going to have a one-sided thing. So we'll talk about that another day, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, a quick update. I want to jump on this. The LWO Intercontinental Championship. I can't believe I missed this.
Where are we up with that?
Yeah, so Manly had it the last time we talked, and in that time, the Dragons beat Manly, got the win over them, 20-6. So they held it for a grand total of 7 days before they got beat by the Cowboys. So the Cowboys are now the Intercontinental Champions, and I've actually put up a poll on Twitter. So if you want to head over there, like we said, we'll try and interact with you as much as we can. I'll just try and find it just so I can.
Are you saying West Tigers could be a title holder if they weren't screwed last week? Oh no, because Cowboys beat Dragons. That was last week. Sorry.
Yes, no, they wouldn't. Yeah, so it's as of this week. So
yeah. Sorry, my bad.
What have I got here? I put up a poll. I thought I did.
That's there.
How much have you? We've put a fair few tweets out here. When will the Cowboys, will they relinquish the LWO Intercontinental Championship, or will they go undefeated and retain it for the remainder of the season? Reminding you that Panthers, they play them in the final round of this year. Panthers can't win it, being the world champions from 2021. That's a non-title match if they get that'll be a so that they've got 3 matches. There's 3 chances they will lose it. Against the Bulldogs this week. I thought they were playing in Sydney. I thought they were a good chance of beating the Cowboys this week. But you got the Bulldogs, Warriors in round. Yeah, it's up in Bundy. Warriors in round 23, Rabbitohs in round 24. That could be a good one. Or Cowboys retain it and become the inaugural LWO Intercontinental Champions at the end of the year. So they'll take the title into 2023. So a lot of footy to play out.
I like the thought of South getting it.
Yep.
As in like kind of like a Chris Jericho. He wins the world title in 2002, and then the Bookers and Vince says, "Oh, you know what? We need a really good former world champ to hold our IC title for the first time." No disrespect to the Cowboys, but I'm going to put some money on the Rabbitohs to be our first IC champ.
They are the best backed in the poll as well, 49.1% at the moment, backing the Rabbitohs to do it in round 24. I'm with you. I think the Rabbitohs, the Cowboys hold on to it for the next couple of rounds, but they lose to the Rabbitohs. And in saying that too, if the Rabbitohs, whoever has it at the end of the year, obviously they're not going to defend it in the finals, because ultimately whoever wins the championship, whoever wins the becomes the premiers of 2022 would then win that title as well. So we're not doing that. But we could have, if the Rabbitohs win it, go on to win the premiership. They could be dual, or they win it and we have another team win the grand final. So a lot to play out there, a lot to play out.
I like it.
What do we got next? I lost my doc here. We have got, there's been some try celebrations, mate. Now, we put the challenge out there 3 weeks ago. We wanted to see some more try celebrations.
It's gone mad.
In the form of WWE ones. Now, we didn't see many, and some of them may have been different things, but we associated them with WWE or wrestling in general celebrations. Now it was mad. They had plenty. There was so many good try celebrations and so many teams getting involved. It was great to see. Boo to the Roosters and the Titans who did fuck all during Try July and did not do one celebration.
Why.
So, I don't know, hate charity, apparently. But try celebrations, WWE style, we had Andrew Fafita, who, when he scored last week, did look like he was running around with his hand on his ear, doing those ones.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
The old Hulk Hogan. Can you hear me, brother? Can't hear you. So we're going to associate that.
Dude?
Yep. I'll put that up there and everyone loved it. The other one, there was Kyle Felt as well as Alex Johnson, who did the fingers points. And I'm going to say that's Cactus Jack doing the bang bang guns. Not the Wiggles. Definitely not the Wiggles. It's Cactus Jack doing the guns. But Scotty Drinkwater, you cannot tell me this was not a WWE celebration. He scored last week against us, and he pulled out the old Santo Maria Cobra, and he was banging away. It was gold. I loved it. Apparently, he said it was some DJ move or some shit like that. That's what they were saying. I'm like, no way. And everyone,
there's no way he ever pulled that out of the club.
I saw a heap of replies. Nah, it's Santino Marella. I posted up the picture. Everyone was like, oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one that saw it. So it's definitely Santino Marella. I will not take any other. I think he even posted on his Instagram and he said something about the Cobra. So there you go. It's
I'll take that.
There. So we'll take those three. They definitely listened to the podcast a few weeks ago and took the hint and pulled out some WWE celebrations. So we thank you very much.
I'd love to know that there'd be so many ex-players. I mean, I can envision right now. I don't know if we've already talked about this. So obviously there was the Sharks guys a couple of years ago. They did the people's elbow.
Yep.
With the fake punch. But I'm sure in the year 2000, John Hopewadi at Penrith Park, when the West Tigers were flogging the Panthers, and then Matt Adamson got pissed off, and he was doing the people's elbow.
Wasn't he doing it between the two posts?
Yep. And Matt Adamson came in and pushed him off.
I'm trying to think if this was like, that
31-8 at half time, and we got beaten 33-31 or something at full time, and we missed the finals.
I thought it was like, that Mandela effect where you think something happens and it didn't. And I'm like,
no, it did. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, he's running the ropes, doing the elbow. Yep.
Yep. And if you're a West Tigers fan, you know all about it. It was an
if someone can
afternoon.
dig up that footage, I'll put a shout out to the LWO family. If you can dig up that footage, I will give you. I'm looking into some t-shirts. So if you can dig up that footage, post it, tag us in it on Twitter. You can get a t-shirt. I'll get you a t-shirt. So,
all right. Well, I'll give him 48 hours because I know exactly where to get it. So, all right, listeners, 48 hours, 2000. I think it was around 20 something Sunday afternoon, Channel 9, Penrith Park, Hopewadi versus Matt Adamson. It was good.
48 hours from 6 a.m. tomorrow morning when this podcast is released.
Correct.
Now I saw. Just quickly. I saw Chad Townsend in a Austin 316.
I saw that, man. That
orange
was cool.
tinge, and that was so cool. Like, I rate the original, just the black and white, but that orange one I think is very rare. So I rate that. Him getting around in it yesterday.
That shirt reminds me of leading into WrestleMania X7 2001 at the Houston Astrodome against The Rock before he turned heel. That was the shirt, man.
Yeah, he went orange like just before, and then I remember he had the white. He had his knee braces, and then he ended up going with white on him because they were black.
Yeah. He went white, and then he went like crocodile, like boot skin or something over it as well when he went heel. Yep,
because he was all just straight down the line, black and white sort of dude. And then he started making these changes, and you're like, "Ooh, what's that? I like that." And then he turns heel, and you're like,
"That shirt, though, that shirt's red hot. That costs some money. That would not be cheap online to get that shirt online." Good on Chad. He's a legend, by the way.
Oh yeah,
he's doing some good shit.
There's a few current rugby. It makes me wonder. Like, I know Aaron Woods. He's a huge wrestling fan, and there's a lot of wrestling guys in the NRL. Sort of make me wonder, like, how do they continue to stay? Like, who are these guys that are young now that like wrestling? Who are they watching now that they're going, or who did they watch growing up? So obviously Scotty Drinkwater, he's in his mid-20s, or 26, 27 or whatever. But he saw Santino Marella doing the Cobra, right? Aaron Woods is probably more of a, attitude era guy.
He's kind of more our age, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 31. Yeah, so he would have seen Stone Cold, The Rock, Edge, Randy Orton, all the Triple H, all those guys in the early 2000s. So similar era to us. And then you got Chatty.
I think a lot of players these days are MMA because WWE has been shit. I think a lot of them kind of go towards MMA.
Yep, but I think there's still it's still there because it's so readily available. Like most of them have Foxtel, KO, all that sort of stuff. So it's like, I'm around on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I've just finished training. I've got like 2 hours to spare or whatever. They're probably chucking on the wrestling. So they're probably watching the guys that are getting around today. So interesting how it sort of keeps going. But, mate, I saw probably the greatest thing I've ever seen at a rugby league field the other day. Henson Park.
Go on.
Beer, footy, what was it? Beer, food and footy festival.
Yep.
At a wrestling ring inside the park, inside Henson Park.
So the wrestling ring was inside the park. So someone actually had a match.
Yep, someone had a match. I don't know whether there was a game on. I doubt there was a game on. It was either at half time, full time. Yeah. But they had a wrestling ring. Same guys that came here. The PWA guy. PWA guys. Pro Wrestling Australia. The same sort of guys in the new era, and they come and wrestle at halftime.
Is it Black Label? PWA Black Label?
Is that porn?
I think that's what they're called. PWA Black Label, maybe.
Is that a porn?
No, is that what they're called? No, that's what it's called. PWA Black Label.
Yeah, it must be.
No, I'll tell you who it is. It's a bloke called Chris Gale, who I've met several times. He's got a show on FBI Radio. He's actually funding. And I think he's one of the commentators. And he actually messaged me a couple of nights ago and said, mate, we need to catch up for a beer in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, he is part of, I think it's PWA Black Label.
Yep.
That's what they're called. And they're doing good shit, man. If you check him up on Twitter and stuff, and he's right behind, Australian wrestling and stuff like that. So I 100% guarantee that was them because they're, like I said to you when I was talking to you earlier, I've called a couple of New South Wales Cup games on that day because the Newtown Jets play whoever as the 3 o'clock game. And Albie Tallarico, who is a board member at Newtown Jets, who I used to call with at Steel Sports, they all know each other. So, yeah, that would have been PWA Black Label. So I'm sure there was a match there, but that's hectic.
I could think of nothing better. We're going next year, so that could be our first. But you know what? I'd love to do
the smell from the hill and the piss heads.
Yep, it's
great. And even at 6 o'clock, hours after full time, there's still 2,000 people on the hill just sitting there drinking with their dogs and dogs running around and girls and dudes drinking. It's fucking awesome.
So that could be. We've got 12 months to make it happen. Could be the first meetup. Or maybe not the first, but it will be definitely a meetup of the LWO family, LWO crew.
Mate,
we need a nickname for us.
We can make that happen very easily.
I think the LWO. What am I saying? We're the LWO Wolfpack. It'll be a meetup of the LWO Wolfpack at Beer, Food and Footy Festival. I cannot wait. As long as I have the wrestling there again, we're going to
it's good
petition for that. So
by then, look, we can do the podcast live.
Oh, that'd be good.
We could record live. We can commentate the game. You can be part of the call team.
Yep, absolutely.
We could even do a cross promotion, Matt, with your boys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're talking to them yet after. I don't know if you're talking to them yet, Dean. You're still your back sore or?
No, I've reached out. We've initiated discussions. We're back talking. Initially, so it's. All right. We might be all right, but in saying that, okay? My back's okay. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Carried the promotion for the night. It's it's all right. No, mate, I don't know if I said this, but I've never got so nervous that I did. I've emceed weddings. I've been mates' weddings in front of all the people I knew, everything like that. Fine, got through it. Did all that. Public speaking, I wasn't too bad. I am an R all the time, but I get through it. Mate, I was almost lost for words up there. It was the adrenaline pumping, the thought that I was going to, be hit in the back, all this sort of stuff. It was crazy. So,
and you couldn't even tell your daughter, and your daughter was watching you.
She loved it.
Good shit. Good stuff.
Obviously took something out
Yeah,
of it.
we'll sort it next
punching,
year. We'll sort
punching
out the
another
Jets
kid in the
and
mouth today.
I thought
Go, girl.
like 20 minutes ago we were off air and you're like looking like to see if anyone's listening. They're not listening to this podcast though, are they?
What's that? No, they won't listen to this. Just for the listeners listening now, I was telling Curtis off air that my eldest daughter got into a bit of a scuffle today. Luckily, she picked on her kid twice her age or twice the size, and gave him a swift jab in the mouth. So part of me was proud of her, and the other part was holy shit, I've just got to go through and tell her what she's done is wrong. It was quite funny, but I said, maybe get her in the wrestling ring. Get her in a wrestling ring.
You're right, mate.
But, mate, huge news over in the wrestling world. Vince gone from WWE. Now, look, I think we all knew he was a bit of a prick and a bit of a dirty bastard. And some of the stuff's coming out. We're not going to get into it, but I think we need to talk about what this sort of means with WWE. I watched SummerSlam on Sunday. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me too.
Not saying that, oh, shit, Vince is gone. A lot of people saying, oh, Vince is gone. The SummerSlam was great. This is the Triple H effect and all that sort of stuff. I still think Vince is pulling strings somewhere. I still think he's got a say in it in some way. But did you happen to watch it? Have you watched any wrestling in the last few weeks? What do you think this sort of means for the WWE with Vince being gone?
Yeah, look, funnily enough, Dane, and I think we mentioned KO Sports before. I actually caught the Raw before SummerSlam. And the best part about that is on replay on KO Sports, they show that without the ads. So it's basically about the old days where it's 2 hours.
Yep.
So it's very easy to watch that. And if there's something you don't like, you can fast forward it. So it's not like you have to watch it live and you go through the ads and it's 3 fucking hours. I watched the Raw before SummerSlam, and that was Triple H's first night in charge of creative, if you want to call it that. And obviously, in a situation like that, you need to still go through the storylines to promote the pay-per-view that's upcoming, no matter what the previous book has done. So I think in a way that was a fairly solid show to promote the matches to SummerSlam. Although what they did at SummerSlam was really, 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 really good. They didn't need the 40 minutes worth of video promos that people already saw, which sells the pay-per-view. You don't need that in the pay-per-view because the people watching the pay-per-view have already seen those videos.
Yep.
Who are you trying to sell to the people that are already watching it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Make no sense.
Yeah.
So that kind of prolongs a little bit, but I thought it was a pretty good show at 3.5 hours. You're right. It was a really, really good show. I watched the Raw after it. Good fucking show. And I think what we're going to start seeing is the fact that what we've already seen since Triple H has been in charge, and you could say, yes, Vince might be calling some shots from home or whatever, but in another sense, they are publicly traded company, and they're run by another guy called Khan, which is not related to Tony Khan from AEW. I've lost his first name, but just in a general sense, the creative and the storylines are going to be better. It's going to be a lot more realistic and more legit storylines. Like, as in, we're actually going to see adult men fighting adult men for real things, like they care about titles and they want to fight for titles.
Yep.
I think we've already seen too less scripted promos, and it's been and from what I can see online from the Wrestling Observer and different websites and reports from the dirt sheets is. There's more less scripted matches as well.
Yep.
So these guys in the ring have been wrestling for 20, 25 years. We're talking about Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and Bobby Lashley and all these blokes. I mean, under Triple H and particularly Kevin Dunn, who's in charge of video and he's in the box with all the camera cuts and all that crap, which annoys the shit out of me. We're going back to the days where instead of these scripted promos where, say, The Miz comes out and he has to say word for word what's on the script, you're going to start seeing wrestlers come out and show more of themselves,
yep.
Which made us fall in love with wrestling, because instead of saying you have to go out and say word for word this and that for 20 minutes, there's going to be 5 dot points of the points they have to get across, and they're going to talk shit about whatever else they want at the same time. The wrestling as well. for these veterans. They can go out there and say, right, all we've been told is that the result is I have to beat you in this way.
Yep.
You've got 8 minutes. You're going through one commercial, and they can call the match in the ring.
Yep.
They can call the match in the ring because they know how to do it.
Yeah. Big difference.
Back in the day, a wrestler in a house show could sit there, and that's like a lot of wrestlers had long hair because it made it easier in a headlock to say, what pub are we going to tonight?
Yeah.
Or, where are we? Or
Yep.
like, who's driving the car? All that kind of shit. The other thing too is we joked about Triple H before about beating everyone in his career.
Yep.
He can't wrestle anymore. He's got a pacemaker. So the only way Triple H can get himself over for the rest of his life is being a good booker and making wrestling better under him than Vince.
Yeah, 100%.
That's how he gets himself over.
Yep.
Which is good for us.
100%.
Which sounds weird, but it's great for us.
And he's been good at it in like NXT.
Oh my God, he's great.
You know, you look at that product over the last, 5-10 years. It's massive. So exciting times. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm only saying I think Vince is still pulling strings. He might not be. He might be out of it totally. But I think
he's lost his fucking mind.
I think he has. He lost it fucking years ago. What are we joking about?
Aren't we up to like a lot? I know you said you want to get into it, so I'll be really quick on this. I think we're up to like $25 million he's spent in WWE money, in hush-hush money for on-air women talent and off-air women in the company that he offered blowjobs and sex to, and he got and said, I'll give you $5 million, don't tell anyone, and sign non-disclosure agreements.
Yep.
And look, there's a lot of women that got sacked in 2005 on-air talent, but several of them came from that sacked talent in 2005. So you can go on Google and have a look yourself, but it used to be funny when we used to see Vince in a cowboy hat getting close to like Christy Hemme or
Trish Stratus and all that sort of stuff.
Trish Stratus and all that shit. And we just thought, oh yeah, well that's Mr. McMahon rather than Vince, the boardroom. But there's no difference. It's
now looking back on it, and there was a lot of it, and you don't realize it watching it back as an adult how much there was when you're watching it, live, because you never went back and watched it over and over again. But there was so much of it. Now it's just fucking creepy.
Yeah, 100%.
It is. Like WWE had so much creepy stuff. Like they have Kate, that Vic thing. Was it Katie Vic?
Katie Vic.
There's been so much terrible shit that they've had in there. But
Dude,
you're
he wanted to be Stephanie McMahon's biological father of her new child in a story.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck.
He's crazy. He was weird. He's weird. Still weird. Anyway,
but that's the thing though, is that we got brought up with it and we think Vince is a legend. But I think as time goes on, his memory will fade very quickly. Because people like us who don't have much time in our weeks would like to watch some good quality pro wrestling from the WWE, but make it pro wrestling again.
Yeah, yep.
Let's call it wrestling.
Yeah, just call it wrestling. That's what it is. Everyone calls it wrestling.
Fucking wrestling crowd.
Yeah. But quickly on SummerSlam, Logan Paul. I thought for what would you call him? Social media personality.
Yeah,
mate, he had some moves, and the frog splash off the
top rope.
Off the top rope onto the table was magnificent. I've seen that view from a few angles, and it gets better every time I watch it. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, the tractor. When he came out in the tractor, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be epic. And it ended up being like lifting the whole ring up was magnificent. There was just so much. It was a good pay-per-view all around. I would have
100%.
actually loved to see the tractor used by Roman. You know how they threw everything on top of him and beat him that way. I would love to see him throw him under the tractor, pull the tractor thing down so he couldn't get up. Right, the bucket was on top of him so he couldn't move. I've seen, I can't think of it's happened before in where they've handcuffed person.
Mankind with.
Yep.
With a smaller
forklift, didn't he put a forklift or something? Yeah,
forklift, and it was like a pallet, a wood pallet. Yeah,
I suppose the thing is, it's probably the same ending as that, so they might have said no. But I just thought with it there, it would have been so funny to see. But there's also another view, which was just Just grab it. It's all right.
My wife's trying to bring a drink in.
We don't film it. We don't film it. It's not filmed.
We're not filming. It's just audio. It's okay. It's okay.
I'll close my eyes.
Dean, there's Tepper. Nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you. See? Done.
No. Oh, just to get back to that quickly, I think it was really smart booking wise. You couldn't pin Brock Lesnar again because you're going to bring him back for the Royal Rumble, right? And he still needs to be a beast. So everyone's talking about the tractor, but no one's talking about the fact that Brock Lesnar got beaten again. No one cares about that. They're talking about the tractor. That was really, really cool. So
I think the fact that he was beaten by, not just Roman. It took
run-ins and all the
run-ins, the Usos, all that sort of stuff.
But we're not talking about the run-ins again. We're talking about the tractor. So I think
true.
It's kind of like the Chaos series. Like you look over here, we're doing something over here. So but they need to start creating some more big names and bringing some more guys on because you can't rely on Reigns, Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, and then Lashley once every couple of months too. We need to start seeing, start booking AJ Styles a bit better.
Yep.
He could have another good run. There's some other good guys there, but it's time. Bron Breakker from NXT, Rick Steiner's son. Jesus Christ. He's ready to go, man. I don't know if you've seen him, but he's been NXT champion for a while. He's a freak. So there's guys ready to go, and I think Triple H is the right guy to do it. So
100%.
We'll see what happens.
Mate, we're going to finish off with one of the points you brought up, which was, and it's funnily enough, I'll mention him, Corey, on Twitter, at Causa2020. Question for the pod. In rugby league terms, who hates each other as much as Vince Russo and Jim Cornette, which is a great rivalry there. They do hate each other. But we're going to transition into your point of faction feuds. And is that right?
Well, which one do you want to do? We're doing both or one?
No, we're doing the faction feud. So we're doing, who is the best faction.
Oh, man. Okay, so we're not doing Cornette and Russo?
Well, I thought that sort of transitioned into the one that you wanted to speak about, which was...
Oh, no, okay. Well, I think because of with your run sheet, I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but so with who hates each other more in footy than Cornette versus Russo, so it was Corey, wasn't it? He asked the question?
He did, yep. Let's spend a little bit of time on that, and then we'll go on the best faction feuds. We'll finish on that.
No. So that's what I was going to say was, instead of having 2 points and let's spend 10 minutes on it, I've just made a list, literally someone versus someone.
Yep.
And I'll just read out the list.
Fire it. Let's go.
All right. So Wayne Bennett versus Gus Gould. Wayne Bennett versus Brian Smith, a little bit older.
Yep.
Gus Gould versus Ricky Stewart. Craig Bellamy versus Wayne Bennett. Ricky Stewart versus Trent Robinson. Wayne Bennett versus the Broncos twice. More feuds than Cena versus Randy Orton. Luke Keary versus Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe versus George Piggins. Buzz Rothfield versus Gus Gould. Ray Hadley versus anyone you want. Gus Gould versus David Gallup. Both the Clearys versus West Tigers. Gus Gould versus Ivan. Bozo versus Bill Harrigan. Gordy versus Bill Harrigan. Gordy versus Wayne Bennett. Anthony Seibold versus Wayne Bennett. Tene versus Haas. Gallen versus Queensland. Latrell versus Manu. And Michael Hagan versus Jason Taylor. Now, I'm going to set this up. Hagan was the Parramatta coach in 2007.
Yep.
Jason Taylor was the coach of South in 2007.
Yep.
And this is the one quote I've got from this, and this is the best thing I've ever heard Jason Taylor say. So apparently at a game at Parramatta Stadium, Michael Hagan refused to let South warm up on Parramatta Stadium. And after the game, they crossed paths ahead of the press conference. And remember that Michael Hagan had won a premiership earlier as the Knights coach with Andrew Johns.
Yep.
So apparently Michael Hagan said to Jason Taylor, why don't you work on catching the ball instead of wrestling all the fucking game? And Jason Taylor replied, we win games without Joey Johns. How fucked are you? You're living off Brian Smith and what he built here while he's up in Newcastle trying to rebuild what you fucked up there.
Wow.
That's brutal. I just
that is brutal.
Tonight.
Yep.
That's great.
That is really good. We need to post that.
There you go. So, instead of going through and just having a couple of minutes talking on each one, there's a little list.
That's a real good one to finish on. I was going to say Buzz Rothfield versus everyone on Twitter.
You know what? I agree with Buzz more than some other people do. Like I'm sick of him getting ambushed on NL 360 by Anasta and Kent and Brent Reed. He does have some good points, but when he's wrong, he's fucking really bad.
Okay, but here's the thing: why can't you just admit when you're wrong? Say I'm wrong, instead of when he gets proven wrong, all he does is block someone on Twitter. Like that's honestly that is really it's like a badge of honor. And it's like it's actually not even a badge of honor because he's done it to that many people. It's just fucking standard practice now.
Well, I remember ringing him about 10 years ago and said, "Buzz, I'm a budding writer." And he goes, "How'd you get my number?" And I said, "Well, doesn't that prove I'm a good journalist?" And he goes, "Yes, you're right, Curtis."
Yeah, you're right.
And I said, "Look, I've got your email address as well. I'm gonna send you through some articles." I never heard back from him, but that's all right because I got published in the Daily Telegraph last week for a match report, and my name's in the fucking paper forever. So,
oh really? Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks, buddy.
That's nice work. Although it is the Daily Telegraph, but
no, but look,
that's good. That's good. Yeah,
another box tick.
Nice one.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate your
sarcasm there. Yeah.
Did you have any more to add to that? Was there any feuds there that you had that I?
No, I think you sort of nailed them all. Like, there's been some good ones, like you mentioned, like Wayne Bennett against pretty much everyone. He's had
Dylan Walker versus Curtis Scott. Yeah,
if you wanted to look at on-field, Peter Volandis versus the Rules.
A lot of that was like chairmans versus presidents and bookers versus GMs and shit, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I like that. That's what we talk about. You know what? There's not a lot of players now. There might have been back in the day, and it's probably past. I sort of forget about a lot of that past stuff. But there would have been players back in the day that spoke out. Now they're just too conservative. Now there's hardly anything. Even who was Tavita Pangai Jr. spoke up. Well, yeah, we're coming for Tino.
Tino versus Payne Haas.
And I loved it, right? I love that shit. Talk it up all day. Everyone was like, "Oh, this is why you don't talk it up." When he went out and who was it? Corey Waddell eye gouged and they're like, now it's because he spoke out about it. He got treated more harshly for it. And I'm like, fuck, we want them to talk out. We want them to get a bit crazy and speak their mind.
State of origin the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's been too sanitized.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been the blow up the last couple of years is that, yes, games are being sold out because it's a event.
Yep.
But what about the people at home? And I think I tweeted this too before Game 3. Suncorp was sold out for the decider. That's great. But like where's the players saying, I'm gonna bash this bloke because I don't like him? That brings in 50,000 new viewers from Darwin or Perth or Adelaide.
Yeah, you did.
And that gets the ratings up.
Yep.
Because it's a rating sport. Rugby league is very similar to wrestling.
Yep.
Get the ratings up. Get the players back in it. And I think I said on the Dragons Red V podcast last night, well, for the Dragons, like, Dan, you're a Dragons fan. And I said, which player, and I was going to the Dragons squad, which player this week is going to go out in the media and say, we hate the Sharks, we want to win, we're just outside the 8, and to our fans, we know that you're frustrated, let's play some football.
Yeah.
No, I think I saw Aiden Tolman saying, I respect the derby.
We don't want that.
Dragons.
Yeah, don't want that.
Sharks.
Yeah.
Where's the Dragons fight? Like, where's the individual week to week derbies? Where's the
Yeah, I think it is hard for them too because if they come out and say something, especially a team like the Dragons who's underperformed this year, that they come out and say something, then they get beat and they just get ridiculed.
Yeah, but okay. So where's the Dragons guys firing up?
No, that's what I'm saying. The Dragons guys, if they say it. Whereas I think if the Sharks come out and did it, a lot of people the blowback if they end up losing, which I don't think they will, but if the blowback if they lost wouldn't be as harsh as the Dragons players facing it. Do you get what I mean?
think I'm just getting the point, Dean, that like in general we want to see some more players. Like you want to use 100% or selling. Let's see the players selling the matches.
Yeah, we do need more of it. How they do it, I don't know, because there's so many people that just don't get it. Like, I love that shit. I could feed off that. And once the game's over, I would never think of going back to that player going, fucked in, you said you'd do it, rah, rah, rah. I would never think about 20. I would wait until the next game they were playing it and bring it up. But I wouldn't get, I wouldn't be a fan that jumps on Twitter and goes, "Oh, I sucked in, you fucking lost after you said you'd win, rah, rah, rah," because you just look like a tool. Like, I see all those people and go, "Do you not understand? Like, this promotes it. This gets people talking about the game." So, 100%. And then the moment they start bringing them back down, it's like, oh, well, they'll never say anything again. They go back into their full credit to the boys. Thanks for game of two halves. Thanks very much.
It's crazy that they're making more money than they ever have, and the players. I think it trickles down from the top, from the boardroom, from the head office, is that those guys have got KPIs and they want to get to a certain part in the year. They keep their jobs. They keep their coach who wants to win a certain amount of games in the year. They don't want their players to say anything. The social media managers don't have the balls they used to 15 years ago because they want to keep their jobs. Like, it's the fans are baying out here for some rivalry and some spirit.
Yes, 100%.
But we're the ones that are creating it in the podcast and fans online and creating, keeping the rivalries alive. It is frustrating.
Well, let's continue it on. Let's continue on the rivalries. Let's talk about some factions, some of the greatest factions in faction feuds in WWE history. Let's finish off on a really positive note here. What have you got, mate? What do you remember? For me, growing up, I remember DX. DX was like massive, right? And they had a feud with almost everyone. If I was to pick like their top one, some might disagree, but I remember their rivalry with the Corporation. And I was watching it before I jumped on.
Ministry Corporation?
No, just the Corporation. So there was DX. I remember DX came out dressed as the Corporation. You had like Billy Gunn and Road Dogg dressed as Vince and Shane McMahon. You had two midgets that were Briscoe and Pat Patterson. You had X-Pac, who was Ken Shamrock. He would run around beating his chest, like yelling, screaming. And I remember they had the Triple H as the Croc, not the Rock. He was, if you smell what the Croc is cooking. And I just remember, the feud that they had with the Corporation was so big around my time of watching wrestling and loved DX. And I think that was probably one of the biggest one. Sorry.
It wasn't done much back then with the dress ups and like people do it now and it's been done so many times.
Yeah, it's hard to be original in it. Yeah. You don't see it very often.
I think the reason we were doing that was because there's so many factions right now in the NRL. You got the AL Rugby Commission versus New South Wales Government, West Tigers versus the NRL, Manly feuding amongst themselves. I've got three quick ones. And I do. One of them is DX, but I'm going to go DX versus Heart Foundation. So, and this is at the back end, and this literally leads into the screw job at Montreal. So, the DX versus Heart Foundation was really, really well booked by the WWF at the time because you had the leaders HBK in one corner, Bret Hart in the other, and it was also USA versus Canada. So, in that last year for Bret Hart, Vince and the WWF actually booked a shitload more house shows and Raws in Canada than they usually would in a normal year. So when there was a Raw in America, the Heart Foundation were the heels, and they would come out and be pigs to the American flag or whatever. But then when the DX went to Canada, they were beloved the Heart Foundation.
Yeah.
And they would it was hard to get DX out of the arena, which actually led into and culminated with the screw job. So that's one of mine. The other two,
just on that real quick, like that, I remember that got so personal, like because they had a bit of a real hatred for each other. Like they respected each other as wrestlers, but they punched on backstage, and some of the attacks that they had, remember it was like, it's not all going to be sunny days and all those sort of stuff. There was a lot of personal attack, and there was some really good promos. So if you get a chance, go back. I'm sure that, there's plenty of docos on it. Go back, take your pick, and watch it. But it was really good. That was a really good rivalry, that one. And I remember remember like in 2000, I think it was maybe around 2006 when Shawn Michaels went back and they had a Raw in Canada. He come out and he was getting booed, and then he was saying something about it, and then he made Bret Michaels' music hit. And everyone was like, holy shit, Brett Michaels is back. And then he turned around and was like, no.
Brett Michaels, that's poison.
Sorry, Brett Michaels. Bret Hart's music. Got me. Mixture of the two. Bret Hart music came on and he turns around. He's like, holy shit, looking at the thing. And then after about a minute, he turns and goes, gotcha. And he just, that was his trolling, right? Trolling the, trolling Canada.
He had to, because every time we went back, before Bret Hart came back for his street fight with Vince at WrestleMania, Michaels couldn't go to Canada without being a heel.
Yeah.
They had to play it up.
But go on. Yeah, what was your next one?
Oh, I was just going to say quickly about that one too, is that the more and more I watch that documentary, I think it's Wrestling with Shadows.
Yep.
And how everyone says, oh, Bret Hart got screwed. Then you hear Scott Hall getting interviewed about it and all this shit. There's no way, I'm sure that the older I get, I'm sure Bret Hart and Vince thought the best way for us to get out of this, me and you keep it quiet. I'm sure Bret knew he was getting screwed that night.
You reckon it was he knew it was a full work?
No, it's scandal. It's scandal. For the rest, since '97, I've thought Bret Hart got screwed. But I reckon now, the more I look at it, I reckon Vince and Bret knew that Vince and the WWF were going to make millions of dollars with Bret not there, and Bret would make his money in WCW going there anyway. So we'll leave that for another day.
I tell you what, if I don't mind. I don't buy into it as much. I don't mind it, thinking that, because there's been some crazy works over the years, and you're like, is this real? Is this not real? Would not, think when you think back and what happened to both brands, like how much WWE went from that.
Made money,
He became Mr. McMahon after that, didn't he? He wasn't just, the behind the scenes guy, the commentator. He was Mr. McMahon after that, and then the feud with Stone Cold and all that sort of stuff. So I don't buy into it as much as you, but I don't mind it.
I think it was perfectly set up, and someone behind the scenes said, "Look, let's do it this way." And the whole fact that there was a documentary team there to watch the screw job makes me a little bit more paranoid now these days. Anyway, we'll leave that for another day. The other two, this is going way back before WWE or WWF. One of the greatest faction feuds, if we're talking about NRL versus New South Wales government, West Tigers versus NRL. And look, you've mentioned yourself, Dean, that you don't know as much about NWA and all that stuff back in the day. But one of the biggest ones of all time is the Von Erichs versus the Fabulous Freebirds in Texas. So the Von Erichs, this is the territory days, and we haven't touched on this yet, but back before WWF and Vince bought everyone and then syndicated TV all to New York, where everyone in America was watching WWF, every state had their own massive wrestling company. So the Von Erichs were a huge Texan family, run by the dad. That was it. Like, if you were in Texas watching wrestling, you were watching the Von Erichs. And then the Fabulous Freebirds with Michael Hayes, who is now a booker or an agent now in the WWE. And his Freebirds came in. That was huge. They were massive draws in Texas. This is like, and to the point where, if some guy had the world title, that wouldn't make money because it was about a team coming in from another state or another territory and attacking the Von Erich family. And we're talking about, I think it was 5 sons and the dad.
Yep.
So, I mean, those feuds go forever. So we'll leave it at that. But
there's a few I think all daughters, granddaughters, or whatever getting around, or there was.
Yeah, there's a good tag team, Marshall and I can't remember the other bloke's name, but they have been a really good tag team on the indie circuit for a long time. Good bodies, look like WWE guys. I don't know why they never went to WWE, because it would make sense, but so there's one. We already touched on DX versus the Hart Foundation. The other big one is the NWO versus WCW.
Yep.
And and it's such a strange thing, because the NWO was 3 guys to start with, and Bash at the Beach 96, when Hogan came out and dropped the leg on Randy Savage, that was 3 guys for months. And the whole story was the WCW would get theirs back on NWO. in 1997, Sting, who was the one guy that he would sit in the rafters, and this is before Owen Hart, so it was still cool. He would sit in the rafters and he wouldn't pick a team, and he wore black and white, and everyone thought, oh, he must be NWO, but he wasn't.
Yep.
And he would come down from the rafters, and then for like, it was like 8 months of booking to get to Sting challenging Hulk Hollywood Hogan at Starrcade 97, which was WrestleMania to WCW.
Yep.
Starrcade was huge, right? And then they fucked him on Starrcade night, where apparently Hogan went to the referee and said, when I'm supposed to lose, do a slow count or something. And that fucked Hogan, fucked Sting, sorry. So they fucked Sting, and then Sting was done. Then Hogan gets the title back, drops it to Goldberg in Atlanta at the Atlanta Dome because Goldberg was so hot.
Yep.
And said, I have to lose to Goldberg. This makes sense. And then by 98 Starrcade, instead of letting Goldberg keep the title, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall hit him with a taser.
Remember
and then
that.
Kevin Nash just powerbombs Goldberg and loses the title again.
Yep.
Eric Bischoff has made a lot of money off podcasts the last couple of years, but he is a genius and also a fuckwit at the same time. So,
but
I don't know what to say about that. I mean,
the
that
length
could
of
have been
that
the best
though,
feud of all time.
yeah,
but
it could be, because you got to think, when I was a WWE guy, but when they went over and they had the NWO, it made you want to go over and watch it. It made you like, okay, let's watch this, record the other, watch it later. Where before that we didn't have that back and forth. They made WCW big, and the feud went for so long too. Like you said, it was
that's the problem. It went forever, man. They screwed it. There should have been,
and they fucked it up when they had.
There should have been an end date.
Yep,
where WCW like fans cried in the crowd, and Ric Flair or Goldberg or Sting. But no, Sting just joined WCW, NWO. I think in 2000, Goldberg joined NWO.
Yeah.
Bret Hart ended up joining
Latino
NWO.
World Order. Then it was basically NWO it wasn't a WCW anymore. It was just all these factions of NWO, all these different, and you're like, where does it end?
Yeah, well, the problem was with the booking too, was that Bischoff wasn't necessarily always the booker. So at different times, it was like JJ Dillon or Kevin Sullivan or different guys. But the problem is that the WCW guys never got their wins back.
Yep.
So for literally 6 months straight in like 97, 98 or whatever, there'll be another WCW guy that's about to win a match, and then 25 NWO guys come out, bash the guy, disqualification, and spray paint NWO on his back.
And that was it.
It's just, I mean, a fan can only take so much. So
correct. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, WCW would have been awesome. It was awesome. And if WCW actually got to win that feud, WCW would still be here.
Yeah. Yep.
It would. And Vince might have been out of money.
Imagine that. Imagine Ted Turner being the billionaire owner of the biggest wrestling company in the world for the last 20 years.
If Ted Turner wanted to keep putting his money into it in 2099 or whatever, he could have kept putting his money into it.
Yep.
But they actually looked at the bottom line and said, okay, so you guys are making hypothetically, and I'm saying hypothetically myself, you guys are making $500 million a year, but you're losing $800 million a year.
Yep.
That's what they were doing. They had like 175 wrestlers on the roster on $500K plus each wrestler, and they weren't getting on TV. They were sitting at home getting paid $500, $600, $700K. It was madness.
Madness. Imagine if we were like just, I don't know, imagine if you were a billionaire that you could just do that, run your own wrestling company. Like, it'd be like you'd want to. For me, I'd want to. Like, I wouldn't care if I was losing money.
AEW.
Yeah. Well, true.
He can't.
Yeah.
Well, his dad's the billionaire, but I mean,
Daddy's money.
I'm seeing some very, very similar things to WCW with Tony Khan and the way he books his show and how he favors people. It's crap. But
one thing I have an issue with AEW is the amount of factions they have. Everyone's a part of something.
Oh, my God. Exactly. Everyone's going to be on the show.
And I'm
they
like,
don't have to be.
No, they don't. And I'm just, But let us know in the comments. Tag us. Let us know what was your greatest faction feud of wrestling, whether it's now, growing up, whenever you're watching, or even past ones that you've researched, whatever it is. Let us know who was your favourite feud. Some great insight there by the great man Curse Woodward. And that
just makes me sound like a nerd now.
Why?
No, just like old school wrestling. No, look, guys, get onto it.
No, it's fucking good. And we've just hit an hour. There you go.
Yeah, let's go.
Perfect timing.
We've got stuff to do, mate.
We do.
Hell.
I got to go chastise a child for smacking another kid in the head. So.
At least it wasn't a super kick.
No, I imagine that. As you started stomping. As always, a pleasure. Thanks, listeners. Mate, again, like we said, jump in the comments. Let us know. Tag us. Continue the conversation on socials. We love it. And we can't wait to do it in a couple of weeks. Talk soon, Curse.
Thanks, bud.